Om Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namaha Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadrita Vigraham Vai Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Sirasa Namami. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate, who is adored by all, pure, eternal, infinite by nature. Out of His infinite grace on the devotees, the Divine Supreme has assumed a human form in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. Let us bow down to Him. Let us try to dwell upon the personality of Sri Ramakrishna. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic, the Pranama mantra of Sri Ramakrishna. The stotra which I just now chanted, I am trying to explain the great significance of the verse. Every incarnation is great, really great, supremely great at the particular point of time. The incarnation of Sri Ramchandra was very significant in that period of time. Sri Ramchandra came to establish truthfulness, how one should perform one's own duty, how one is indebted to his parents, his elders, his teachers, and how one should get one's fulfillment through performing one's duties, through performing one's responsibilities. So, dharma was well established on truthfulness, and Sri Ramachandra adhered to that principle. In the incarnation of Lord Krishna, how he gives the philosophy of life, how one should perform oneself in this world. It is true, everybody has to work. No one can remain idle. Lord Krishna himself tells, even I am working all the time. Let nobody boast, I work 24 hours, 48 hours like that. Nobody can work more than Lord. The Lord works incessantly. We take rest, but there is no rest for God. Because the infinite creation, hundreds and thousands of solar systems are there. Let us not think this is the only solar system where we are living. It is not like that. There are hundreds and thousands. Nobody can count them. So, since the Lord is the creator of the whole universe, He assumes responsibility to take care of the universe, to take care of the creation. So the whole system has been well organized and systematized. The best organizer is God Himself. Well, then Buddha came, how he was very much hankering after realizing the reality. He sacrificed everything for that sake. He never wanted kingdom. He renounced it. He had his wife and beautiful child. He left everybody, everything, so that he can fully concentrate and realize the truth. What is the secret of this birth and death? Where the soul should go? What does it do? All those problems, he arrived at solutions by meditating under the Bodhi tree. Lord Christ, incarnation of mercy, was tremendously merciful. His kindness and mercy would extend to everyone. The worst sinner would receive the maximum comfort, solace, compassion from Lord Christ. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, another great incarnation, who was par excellence in his devotion to Lord Krishna, devotion to God, Parabhakti. He was supreme. He got into that state. His whole body was vibrating with the name of Lord Krishna. In Sri Ramakrishna, we find all these manifesting themselves. In a way, they are all integrated in the personality of Sri Ramakrishna. They are all integrated. You can see Lord Christ in Sri Ramakrishna. You can see Lord Ramachandra in Sri Ramakrishna. You can see Lord Krishna in him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in him. So, here is the incarnation where everybody, whatever religion he follows, he can have his fulfillment by coming to Sri Ramakrishna. So, Swami Vivekananda became overwhelmed by this personality. He got his training, spiritual training, under this greatest teacher, Sri Ramakrishna. And he paid richest tribute to Sri Ramakrishna. And this verse, Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarva dharma swarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. This most significant verse was composed by Swami Vivekananda himself. It was spontaneous. So every word has got tremendous significance. There is no dogmatism in telling Sri Ramakrishna in describing him as the Supreme Incarnate. There is no dogmatism there. It's only to make everyone understand who this Sri Ramakrishna really is. The same Godhead, Supreme Brahman, one who has no attributes, has come in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna himself describes about him to Swami Vivekananda, who was doubting whether Sri Ramakrishna was really an incarnation. Sri Ramakrishna immediately got up from his bed. He could read his mind. Well, are you still doubting? One who was Sri Ramachandra in Treta Yuga, one who was Lord Krishna in Dwapar Yuga, he is now Sri Ramakrishna in this age. But not in your Vedantic sense. See how everything is so clear. In Vedanta, there is no question of incarnation, all those things. Vedanta dwells only on principle. Atman, self. Oneness of existence, that is Vedanta. Oneness of existence. Just like sun and its rays. The rays are part and parcel of the sun. They can't have any separate existence from the sun. The sum total of all the rays is sun. It is from the sun the rays come out. And to him all the rays get into merge. So sun is the source. And they are inseparably connected. That's the beauty. In the same way, all of us, knowingly or unknowingly, we are all inseparably connected to divine source. We are divine. That's why Swami Vivekananda, in the course of his talks, very emphatically said, you are immortal, children. Never think you are a sinner, you are this and that. You are beyond all this and that. You are bereft of all these qualities. Amritasya putraha. You are the children immortal. You have that potentiality of divinity in you. You are divine basically. But the divinity is covered up by impurities. It is covered up by the cloud of impurities. Once the impurities are gone, the ever-shining glory of the divine shines by itself. And you'll be surprised to see, well, I am that. I am the divinity itself. So you enter into samadhi. You get into ecstasy. That is the state of the highest reality. And Sri Ramakrishna is none other than that Supreme Brahman. That's the indication given in the verse Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya. It starts with Om. Om is the most significant mantras. Of all the mantras, Om is the foremost. With Om, all the mantras have got value. So Om must be added. It is just like adding zeros along the number 1. Without 1, you add any number of zeros, there is no value. 0 multiplied by 0 becomes 0 only. So, Om is like that. Om Ramakrishna, Om Rama, Om Krishna, Om Kali, Om Christ. It has got its value. So you have to, when you want to use it as a mantra, you must add Om. It should be preceded by Om. All the mantras are preceded by Om. Well, how this verse came out from Swami Vivekananda? What was the situation, occasion? there was an important event. It was February 6th, 1898. Very significant day. On that day, this most glorious verse was given by Swami Vivekananda. It was a full moon day. A devotee, a great devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, his name was Navagopal Ghosh. He invited Swami Vivekananda and other brother disciples and devotees to come to his home and to perform the installation ceremony of Sri Ramakrishna's portrait in his new house. He was installing Sri Ramakrishna in the home. So he wanted the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna to come and bless him. That was the occasion. The lady of the house, she was also very devoted. In a very humble way, she expressed her sentiments to Swami Vivekananda. She said, Swamiji, we are poor. So, we are really unable to serve the Lord of the universe in a proper way. So please bless us that we may render our service devotedly. And Swami Vivekananda replied, well, Sri Ramakrishna never in his life lived in such a marble-floored home. He was born in a rustic thatched hut. He spent his days in the simplest way. And if he does not live here with all these services of devoted hearts, I don't know where else he should. Well, after the ceremonial installation, Swami Vivekananda sat in front of the portrait of Sri Ramakrishna and he absorbed himself in deep meditation. Meditation anytime he could get. Look at his personality, Swami Vivekananda's picture. Always meditative. Even if he is talking, he is meditative. That means his mind was totally focused on the divine. Fully focused. In that state, he spontaneously composed this verse. Om Sthapakaya Dharmasya Sarva Dharma Swarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Whatever the meaning we give, still we can't describe fully, properly this verse. The only way to understand this verse is to realize Sri Ramakrishna. To live the life as taught by Sri Ramakrishna. Then you will understand the value, the supreme value of this significant verse. Well, Om, the simple meaning is salutation to Sri Ramakrishna, who reinstated Dharma, the embodiment of all religions, and the foremost among the avatars. In this hymn, the glory, purpose and message of Sri Ramakrishna's advent, they are all contained in this verse in a nutshell. If you deeply meditate on this verse, you will really understand the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna and the function of the Ramakrishna order of monks. And you will know what is meant by practical spirituality. Everything about spiritual you will come to know when you properly open up your eyes and meditate on this famous verse. Om is the mystic syllable representing God in all his aspects, both personal and impersonal. It is used as a mantra for meditation. It is also called Pranama mantra. Om itself is enough to attain the reality, to realize the truth. Just concentrating and meditating on Om will give you the result. But it is very highly concentrated one. So one needs some dilution, otherwise people cannot contain it. It is a tremendous force. So the Om is channelized through different ways. It's a word of noble praise of the soul or one's own chosen deity. It imparts life and force to all Vedic mantras. The Gayatri mantra, famous Gayatri mantra, is started from Om. Om Bhurbhuva Suvaha Tatsa Vidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Gayatri. Any mantra you take starts with Om. So this indicates that Sri Ramakrishna is the attributeless Paramatman and at the same time an incarnation of the divine who has come into this world in human form to shower blessings on the suffering humanity. People had lost their ways and they were not really making any progress in spiritual paths because all their energies are being just used up in quarreling among themselves, in creating conflicts rather than practicing them. Even now people are quarreling in the name of religion. It's a stupid thing to quarrel. The moment you start quarreling, you are not religious at all. You are disqualified. If you come to Sri Ramakrishna, if he sees you showing any conflict or disharmony, if you are showing any disrespect to any other religion, you are disqualified. So, Sri Ramakrishna has come to show the correct perspective of religion, how one should understand the meaning of religion. The meaning of religion one can understand only by practicing it properly. So, give all your attention, use all your energy in realizing the truth first. Then if you have got time, then you enter into debates. Without realizing, without knowing the truth, you are just talking about and debating upon God. It's just blind leading the blind. Sthapakaya dharmasya Dharma is a very fine word, very difficult to translate in English. Anyway, one meaning of dharma is that which supports and sustains. Dharanat dharmaha. Everything rests on dharma. Dharme sarvam pratishthitam. That which confers prosperity here and beatitude hereafter is dharma. Praninam sakshad abhyudaya nishreyasa hetur yaha sa dharmaha. Realization of God. That is a goal. Dharmo mad bhakti lakshanaha. Devotion to God is dharma. Again, acharaha paramo dharmaha. Spiritual practice is the greatest dharma. See how many meanings are there for this dharma. All this must be done. One who is practicing spirituality must give attention to all these aspects of dharma. The attainment of beatitude and eradication of misery through self-realization is the supreme dharma of human life. Cultivation of devotion, loving devotion to God, and practicing spiritual disciplines for the attainment of this summum bonum of human existence. Then only you are said to be practicing dharma. This is especially the case for men of high and noble birth. Now, let us study how Sri Ramakrishna was from the beginning unto the end. He was practicing dharma. Dharma in the beginning, dharma in the middle, dharma in the end. Dharma all the time. That is Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was called as Gadadhara in his boyhood days. Ram Kumar, his brother, the eldest brother, he brought him to Calcutta and he admitted Gadadhar into a school in order to get some education, because without education how he could stay in the life? He has to carry on his life afterwards. So education is important. So Sri Ramakrishna, I use the word Sri Ramakrishna instead of Gadadhar because Sri Ramakrishna is very familiar, very easy to. In his boyhood days, I'm referring to. One day, he saw a Brahmin boy with a bundle on his shoulders, under his arm. He asked the boy, what did the bundle contain? And the boy replied, a liter of rice and a bunch of green bananas, which he got as remuneration for conducting worship in certain family shrines. He did work, performing some puja in the home of a person, so he got this as remuneration. And is that all? So Gadadhar was averse to formal schooling. Should I have to get education in order to earn my livelihood? So, though Sri Ramakrishna learnt, he got some education, no doubt, but he did not pursue it, the secular education. And Ram Kumar, his eldest brother, was concerned and he took him to task for negligence. Sri Ramakrishna replied very clearly and very emphatically, well, I have no need for an education which will fetch only a liter of rice and a bundle of bananas. What I want is that education which will enable me to realize God. I want that education, not this education which all people are getting. Ramkumar could not fathom the full significance of these profound words of Gadadhar. It was Vedic wisdom that spoke through Gadadhar. The Mundaka Upanishad speaks of two kinds of knowledge that one should acquire. They are Paravidya and Aparavidya. Para means supreme, Apara means secondary. The study of various arts and sciences, inclusive of the study of the Vedas, is only secondary. The attainment of eternal variety is verily the supreme knowledge. The attainment of eternal truth, that is important. So that spiritual knowledge, Gadadhar chose. I want that knowledge. By getting that knowledge only, one is freed from all bondage and misery, and one really experiences peace and happiness by realizing that highest reality. The subsequent life of Gadadhar proved that it was not out of laziness or foolishness that he so said, "Seek ye the kingdom of God first, and everything shall be added unto you," said Jesus. Put one first, and then you may put any number of zeros thereafter. Each zero then acquires some value, but without the one, any number of zeros by themselves come to nothing, said Sri Ramakrishna. Why waste your time counting the number of mango trees, their branches and leaves? You have come to the orchard to eat mangoes. Eat them and go your way, said Sri Ramakrishna. You have come into this human life not to simply indulge yourself in useless worldly things and get lost. The safest and surest way of achieving the goal of life is to pine and hanker after God. Sri Ramakrishna was a worshipper in a Kali temple. To him the form of Kali was no mere image. It was the Divine Mother herself. He spoke to her. He sang hymns to her. He cried for her. He shed bitter tears for her. No human child might have cried for its lost mother as Sri Ramakrishna cried for his Divine Mother. Those who heard his wail also weep. They also wept. The echoes of that wail make us also weep for God. When the child sends out a genuine cry of distress, when the child refuses to be pacified without seeing its mother, the mother is sure to rush to its side, throwing away everything, setting aside whatever she might be doing. Through such a cry, Sri Ramakrishna gained the grace of the mother. Our scriptures have described the spiritual matters, divine truths, methods to realize them. All these matters have been validated by the lives of saints and sages. These ideas have been discovered, they have been reaffirmed, they have been restated by Sri Ramakrishna on the authority of his own direct, immediate, personal realizations. He realized God. Not only that, he has shown us how to seek God, how to long for God. Sri Ramakrishna has shown the means as well as the end of spiritual life. This is how he has become a dharma sthapaka. Just follow his life devotedly, sincerely, follow the instructions. Then you will see how you will be progressing well in the path of dharma. Thus, spirituality has been re-established and spiritual scriptures have been revalidated. An aspirant, after attaining perfection, should uphold the scriptures, and that is what Sri Ramakrishna did. Sri Ramakrishna is a proof of the Vedas. Salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the reinstator of dharma. Om Sthapakaya Cha. There is Cha. What is that word Cha? Conjunction Cha. It has got special meaning. And this Cha indicates that he is not only the establisher of dharma, but something more. And that is he who founded the Ramakrishna order of sannyasins. People may say, is it not Swami Vivekananda who founded the Ramakrishna order? Superficially it is Swami Vivekananda, it is true. But it is Ramakrishna who founded the order if we peep deeper. Swami Vivekananda says, here Sri Ramakrishna lives. Whatever Sri Ramakrishna wills, it happens. So, even the establishment of Ramakrishna Mahasangha was done on account of the supreme will of Sri Ramakrishna. Through unprecedented disciplines, Sri Ramakrishna discovered eternal truths. Were they to be only for himself? If so, what was the good of them all for posterity? Sri Ramakrishna came for the world. His realizations are for humanity at large. To accept, absorb, apply and propagate his message, he left a band of devoted disciples. Narendra, Swami Vivekananda was the chief of them. One day at Kasipur Garden House, Sri Ramakrishna asked Narendra as to what he wanted. The disciple answered, I want to be immersed in meditation day and night. And Sri Ramakrishna replied, well, that's a small matter. So far as you are concerned, I thought you were a much greater man. I want you to be a huge banyan tree, spreading far and wide, providing shade and shelter to the innumerable weary souls. People are suffering. You have to provide shelter to them. Another day, the disciples were discussing the duties of a devotee. According to the Vaishnava tradition, loving repetition of the Lord's name, service of the devotees, and compassion towards fellow beings constitute duties of a Vaishnava. Compassion, Jivadaya. Sri Ramakrishna repeated this in an abstracted mood and then gave expression to a revelation of his compassion. Oh man, who are you to show compassion to beings? You are only a worm that crawls upon the face of the earth. How can you show compassion? It is none of your business. Compassion belongs to God. Your duty is to serve God's beings, seeing the Lord in them. That orientation to service was given by Sri Ramakrishna. Later on, Swami Vivekananda gave this dictum, Atmano mokshartam jagadhitaya cha. The source of this verse is Sri Ramakrishna himself. So Narendranath was among the audience. He was struck by loftiness of the vision. He found in these words the practical application of the Advaitic realization. He stored it up in his mind for future use. Another day at Kasipur, Narendra had, by the grace of Guru, the experience of Samadhi. Later, when he went to the master, Sri Ramakrishna asked him, now you have tasted the mango, you got the Samadhi, so he is referring that to the mango. You have tasted the mango, now mother will keep the fruit locked up in a box and keep the key with her. You have to do mother's work. When the work is over, she will unlock the box for you and you will eat the mango again. By wishing Narendra to be a spreading banyan tree, the Guru gave him high aspiration. Through the example of the mango, the Master gave him a taste of the bliss eternal and a commission to dedicate his life for the welfare of humanity. The vision of seeing Shiva in Jiva, God in the embodied being, and serving him provided the philosophy for the new gospel of Ramakrishna Vivekananda. The gospel of Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda is serve the humanity. Seeing God in every being. A Narendra that sought for Atma Moksha, his own liberation, was transformed into a Swami Vivekananda, the prophet of Atma Moksha and Jagadhita, one's own liberation and the good of the world by Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna is the inspiration, the motive force, the philosophy behind the order of Ramakrishna. And Swami Vivekananda gave it a shape and expression. So, salutation unto Ramakrishna, the founder of the Mahasangha. That's the meaning of Cha. He not only established religion, he found Ramakrishna order of monks, dedicated monks. Then Sarvadharma Swarupine. Here Dharma stands for the various paths to realization, namely different religions and also the various yogas, darshanas. Sri Ramakrishna started his spiritual quest as a worshipper of Kali. Then he followed the tantric practices. Then he followed Advaitic disciplines. Through all these, he attained perfection. He discovered through his practices, through his experiences that various though the ways be, the goal is the same. As many faiths, so many paths. God is the center. All religions lead to the same center. This truth was declared by the ancient rishis in the Vedic dictum, Ekam Sadvipra Bahuda Vadanti. Truth is one, sages call it variously. It is there. This message is there in the Vedas. Sri Ramakrishna rediscovered it. He found that the various religions, systems of philosophy, and yogic methods are all valid. They are all useful if rightly followed, and that they all lead to the same goal. He assured them, whatever path you may be following, go ahead. You will reach the goal. You will reach the goal. You don't have to doubt about it. Sri Ramakrishna tells that. He accepted all. He discarded none. Proved the validity of every honest search of the human mind for the divine, irrespective of its name or banner. Salutation to Sri Ramakrishna, the model and embodiment of all religions. Avatara Varishtha, the next phase in the verse. The ordinary embodied soul, however much he may strive, he might attain, with the grace of God, his own salvation. But he would not have the power to liberate others. He doesn't have so much power. He might be having that power in a limited way. But in the spiritual history of mankind, we come across certain mighty personalities who by their sheer will or touch or a look set free souls who had been in bondage for countless births. Rama and Krishna, Buddha and Christ, they were all such mighty forces. There is no comparison between these mighty spiritual luminaries and the common master of the universe. On certain occasions comes down to earth for the protection of his creation. Such a descent of the divine is called avatar, incarnation. It is in Mahabharata that we get a clear enunciation of this avatar theory. Subsequent works also uphold it. In the Bhagavad Gita and in some other parts of the Mahabharata, we get this declaration: whenever virtue weakens and vice thrives, the Lord comes down to help, to uphold the virtue, to put down vice, to protect the good and destroy the wicked. Destruction of evil and resurrection of virtue are the main purpose of such manifestations. They are capable of conferring liberation on anyone at will. There is an incarnation, Parshuram, then Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna. Of these three, Parshuram did a lot of killing. He resorted to collective killing. His principle was ahimsya himsayapi paripalayet. Establish law and order so that the virtuous might live unmolested. Well, at that point of time, they had become very wild. The kings of the time, they had become arrogant and creating a lot of problems and difficulties for the people. So, Parshurama's incarnation
took care of that. You know, Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic qualities are described in Bhagavad Gita. They are applied for everything. Here also, this aspect of incarnation is called Tamasic approach to the problem. Sri Ramachandra and Sri Krishna adopted the Rajasic method of punishing the wicked and sparing the innocent. Himsa himsaya paripalayet. Then there is a third way, the Sattvic way, which involves no killing, but adopts the method of correction. Ahimsaya paripalayet. The Sattvic aspect. It was this Sattvic path that Sri Ramakrishna followed in eradicating evil. He reformed the man, he changed his mental propensities, and he led him to Godward, and thus transformed the sinner into a saint. That was his method. Anybody could come to him. He would bestow his grace and make him go in the spiritual path. Even the worst sinner of the time, Girish Chandra Ghosh, who himself declared, I have committed Himalayan blunders. There is no one in this world who has committed more sins than myself. Such a person was purified and he was accepted as a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. Hence it is that Swami Vivekananda calls him the foremost among the avatars of God. First of all, Narendra, he thought Sri Ramakrishna to be a monomaniac. And then closer acquaintance gradually changed his opinion. And then he began to think of Sri Ramakrishna as a man of God, a saint, a being approximate to God. That was later acclaiming him as the foremost of divine incarnations. Then we have to accept the statement in its full significance. Swami Vivekananda, first he doubted, he questioned, and he tested Sri Ramakrishna. All these are done for our sake. He was constrained to come to this conclusion because of his earnestness in his search for truth, intellectual rectitude, and spiritual insight. All these he owed not a little to the grace of his divine master. Swami Vivekananda acclaims Sri Ramakrishna as the greatest avatar out of his own experience and realization. Ramakrishnaya Namaha. Salutation to him, the embodiment of Rama and Krishna. The most prominent trait of Sri Rama was his adherence to truth. He considered no cause too high, neither the throne, nor his brothers, nor even Sita, to honor this word. Sri Ramakrishna surrendered to the Divine Mother everything except truth. He would not, nay, could not set aside a word he had even casually given. If while taking food he inadvertently said no, when anything was brought to be served, then even if he felt hungry, he could not partake of it again, because he had told he would not take. Offerings brought by devotees who resorted to dishonest means of earning money, Sri Ramakrishna could not touch. Krishna's teachings, as embodied in the Gita, are the gospel of Hinduism. Sri Ramakrishna's gospel is the scripture of the future, not only of Hinduism, but also of all other faiths. Thus Sri Ramakrishna combines in himself the truthfulness of Sri Ramachandra and the spiritual authoritativeness of Lord Krishna. Salutations to him, Te Namaha. Swami Vivekananda, he met Professor Max Muller in London in May 1896. While he was talking, Swami Vivekananda said to Max Muller, Ramakrishna is worshipped by thousands today. Professor Max Muller replied, to whom else shall worship accorded? To whom else shall worship be accorded, if not to such? Verily, whom to worship, if not Ramakrishna? Salutations to you. Namaha. That is namaskar, prostration. The devotee declares his humility. He dedicates himself and says, I am yours. Nothing is mine. That is the culmination of devotional disciplines. It is called prapatti or sharanagati. By this, the devotee becomes a tool in the hands of God. The Lord takes upon himself all the responsibilities of such a devotee. Sri Ramachandra, while giving refuge to Vibhishan, proclaimed, Sakrideva prapannaya tavasmiti cha vadine abhayam sarvabhutebhyo dadamye tad vratam mama. I will protect anyone who takes refuge in me, saying, I am yours. If a person says that, that's enough, I will take care of him. And you see Lord Krishna telling Arjun, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarvapapebhyo mokshishyami mashuchaha. Take refuge in me, discarding everything else. I shall save you from all sins. Grieve not. These promises are made to all humanity. These promises are made to all humanity. Sri Ramakrishna said, truly do I say that he who meditates on me, Sri Ramakrishna tells, will inherit my property, just as a son inherits his father's property. What is Sri Ramakrishna's property? He himself says, Jnana, Bhakti, Viveka, Vairagya, Shanti, Sukha, Prema, Samadhi. These are his properties. If you meditate on Sri Ramakrishna, you get all these things. That is, knowledge, devotion, discrimination, dispassion, peace, happiness, beatitude, and self-realization. Om Sthapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. I take refuge in you, O Ramakrishna, the impersonal and personal God, the reinstator of righteousness, the founder of the Ramakrishna order of monks, the embodiment and verification of all faiths, the foremost among divine incarnations, who combines in himself the glory and greatness of both Rama and Krishna. Rama stands for truthfulness. Lord Krishna stands for the equanimity among all the beings. Buddha for sacrifice. Lord Christ for compassion. Shankara for sharp intellect. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for supreme devotion. All these are integrated, fully manifested in Sri Ramakrishna. So we say Sri Ramakrishna is Supreme God Incarnate. Thank you very much.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. May the Divine Spirit protect us, guide us, give us strength and right understanding. May we not hate one another. May love and harmony be with us all. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. May the Divine Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May we work in harmony with great vigor. May our study be illuminating and fruitful. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.